The first thing that I want to address, or the first thing that I want to get to, is Nvidia. Now, I did Nvidia quick hits yesterday because I was letting y'all know that they had earnings reports after the bell. So after the show, they was going to be releasing earnings. We also did Stock Club inside of the Patreon. So if you're not a part of Stock Club, link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Also tap into the Discord. The link to the Discord is in the description of any of the most recent videos. But I had been telling y'all, like, man, listen, I bought a whole car, a whole Porsche 911 based off of my position and how well I've done when it came to being in this particular thing, right? And so Nvidia now is reported earnings, and they just had an absolute positively blowout quarter. I have not seen a blowout quarter this well, especially for a company valued this high in a long time. So again, make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's get into the money first.
All right, hi, everybody. We begin with the most anticipated earnings of the season, of the year, and maybe ever, Nvidia. All right, we jest a little, but Nvidia is rocking the entire market right now. The stock, a new record high, busting past 1,000 a share. It's basically adding an entire Goldman Sachs worth of market value right now. And here are some other mind-blowing stats to wow your friend with tonight. Nvidia, more than tripling its sales from a year ago. Revenue from data centers up 427% from last.
That is insane. Let me tell you something. I don't know how you guys have not been riding this train over the last few years. I've been talking about it for a long time, and I cannot believe that you guys have missed out. Look, we do shows on a lot of things. Shout out to Tanisha. Shout out to the Bag Chasers. We talk about a lot of things across multiple different platforms, and I like to segment it so that you guys can pick and choose what you want to be a part of and the thing that you don't want to be a part of. I break down how we look for the things that we are looking to invest in on a regular basis. This is literally a layup. But y'all decided that y'all wanted to go out here and party, play games, entertain, not be prepared, and not be able to capitalize off of this. And this is one of the biggest issues that I have with the community is that I can't believe y'all not getting rich off of this, and you don't even have to do anything to it except for to continue to dollar cost average and then become a part of Stock Club and then just take the advice and continue to plow money into this thing. And it literally is making people rich. This is Microsoft in the early 90s. This is Apple when Steve Jobs got back. This is Tesla in 2008. What is wrong with the people? How do you miss this? How do you miss this? Revenue was up year over year, and I showed y'all how to read the charts inside of Stock Club, right? And I broke it down from a C student's perspective. I showed y'all how to look at exactly what the margins are. I told y'all what the debt to equity ratio is. I told y'all how to look at it on a quarterly and annual basis, everything. There's no reason why you guys should not be getting rich from this, just like the rest of us. That's in the chasers. But y'all so easily distracted by the things that ain't add value into your life. How?
Last year. You did not hear that wrong. Nvidia had a 427% jump in 1 year. But Nvidia stock is about to get a lot cheaper.
And they announcing a 10-to-1 stock split. I just talked about stock splits. I literally just answered questions about stock splits in the last Patreon video. We've been talking about this for a long time. Oh, Jesus Christ. I will never sell. I can never sell this stock. I could never divest my position in this. Jesus.
At least on paper. They're doing a 10-for-1 stock split effective June 7th. So the stock will fall to about $100 a share, but you'll have 10 of them. On the earnings call, Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang touting the record quarter and the AI movement overall.
The next industrial revolution has begun. Companies and countries are partnering with Nvidia to shift the trillion-dollar installed base of traditional data centers to accelerated computing.
Now, the Nvidia miracle is popping other stocks as well. You've got AMD, Broadcom, Supermicro Computer. They're all up right now.
They had over $1,000 a share right now. In extended hours. Let me see if I can pull something up real quick. Give me a second. Up another 10% today. It's crazy, bro. This is insane. This run is just crazy. It cannot even be. If y'all part of Stock Club, y'all part of the Bag Chasers, y'all part of the Patreon, shout out to y'all. Shout out to everybody that is really participating and catching a wave on this one. Man, oh man.
But you know what is not up right now? That is Intel. Actually, it is up 0.06%. But overall, Intel can't get out of its own way lately. Intel stock down nearly 40% just this year. All right. For more on NVIDIA's blowout quarter, though, let's bring in our leadoff panel. Joining us tonight is one Christina Partsenevelos and Wedbush Securities Managing Director Dan Ives, who has been pounding the table on NVIDIA. Let's all do it together. Ready? No, in time. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Oh, my gosh.
Rock, paper. Here we go.
Sorry.
Christina.
I just threw things
You
across
don't need
the
that.
table.
Why do you need a highlight? What are you highlighting? We're on TV.
Yeah.
You don't have any paper?
It's how I work.
All right. Christina, 427%. Is that real?
That is real. And that is the main driver for revenues this quarter. So you saw revenues come in higher than what
Blowout
it was anticipating,
earnings.
matching buy-side expectations, $26 billion. The guide for Q2 came in at $28 billion, higher than what the street was anticipating. To your data center point, on the call, we spoke about
$28 billion in revenue in quarter two. Jesus Christ. Boy, oh boy.
As the main driver. One of the main reasons inferencing contributed 40% of data center revenues.
I have a question about inferencing.
So it's the second part of
inferencing?
the large language model. You train it first, like taking a bunch of encyclopedias, let's say, and it gathers all the information.
Okay.
The inferencing is the second stage of that. So let's say you ask, what is...
Did you say encyclopedias? What year is this?
I'm just trying to do
Where is Siam?
It's a visualization for our audience to understand that they take the data, and the second part is getting answers to your queries. So just asking a question, so that's the inferencing part. And NVIDIA is trying to let the investors know that their GPUs are capable of both, not only training, but inferencing, something that AMD said that they would come in and sweep in.
Light years ahead of their competition.
And succeed in that. So clearly, that's not necessarily the case.
Shout out to Trace.
They're also seeing strength in
shortly.
auto. They think that's going to be a big driver for data center revenue. And sovereign AI, which is, sovereign nations around the world that are building their own proprietary AI infrastructures.
They're going to need NVIDIA's chips in order to power whatever it is that they're trying to do from an AI perspective. All right? And so I always tell people that y'all need to make sure that y'all dollar cost average. What is dollar cost averaging? Dollar cost averaging is basically automating the process of investing into things that you already research, which is some of the things that we do together inside a stock club. Dollar cost averaging is basically going into it and automating the amount of money every single pay period, every single month. It should literally be in your budget to pay yourself first. Man, y'all just need to join the Patreon. Let me switch over really quickly because he actually jumped on Yahoo Finance. The CEO of NVIDIA jumped on Yahoo Finance to talk about his quarter one earnings, Blackwell, and the chip demand. Let's get into it, y'all.
I'm Julie Hyman, host of Yahoo Finance.
You know what the funniest part about this whole situation is that I could talk about Diddy and Cassie, which we will next, and people was like, oh my God, salivating over more tea for Diddy and Cassie. And when we talk about NVIDIA, you know what I'm saying? And we talk about your investment strategy and making sure that you align yourself with a group of people that's going in the direction that you're going in and exactly what inferencing is and the new latest technologies and how much they had a blowout quarter and how much more money you need to be making. People be like, I don't think. What about Kamala Harris? What's going on with Ruby Rose? Like, come on, man, get this money.
Market domination here with our tech editor, Dan Howley. Nvidia has done it again, the chip giant blowing past analyst expectations in its strong fiscal first quarter. Data center revenue alone soaring by 427% year over year. And the company also gave another bullish sales forecast, which shows that AI spending momentum continues apace. On top of all that, the company also announced a 10-for-1 forward stock split and raised its dividend. Joining us now, Nvidia founder and CEO Jensen Huang, fresh off the conference call. Jensen, welcome. Thank you so much for being with us.
I'm happy to be here. Nice to see you guys.
You too. I want to start with Blackwell, which is your next generation chip. It's shipping this year, you said on the call. You also said on the call, we will see a lot of Blackwell revenue this year. So if we're looking at about $28 billion in revenue in the current quarter, and Blackwell is a more expensive product than Hopper, the chip series out now, what does that imply about revenue in the fourth quarter and for the full year?
Well, it should be significant. Yeah, Blackwell, and as you know, we guide one quarter at a time. And but what I could tell you about Blackwell is this. This is a giant leap in AI, and it was designed for trillion parameter AI models. And this is, as you know, we're already at 2 trillion parameters. Model sizes are growing, about doubling every 6 months, and the amount of processing between the size of the model, the amount of data is growing 4 times. And so the ability for these data centers to keep up with these large models really depends on the technology that we bring to them. And so the Blackwell is designed also for incredibly fast inferencing. And inference used to be about recognition of things, but now inferencing, as you know, is about generation of information, generative AI. And so whenever you're talking to ChatGPT and it's generating information for you or drawing a picture for you or recognizing something and then drawing something for you, that generation is a brand new inferencing technology, is really, really complicated and requires a lot of performance. And so Blackwell is designed for large models, for generative AI, and we designed it to fit into any data center. And so it's air-cooled, liquid-cooled, x86, or this new revolutionary processor we designed called Grace Blackwell Superchip. And then, supports InfiniBand data centers like we used to, but we also now support a brand new type of data center, Ethernet. We're going to bring AI to Ethernet data centers. So the number of ways that you could deploy Blackwell is way, way higher than Hopper generation. So I'm excited about that.
And when y'all look at a lot of these companies, because we're looking at Nvidia, but we're looking at Nvidia and the growth of Nvidia, not just based off of their chips, but how they support artificial intelligence. So when you look back a year ago, or you look back in the AI boom, a lot of people are talking about Google, and people were so caught up on ChatGPT and stuff like that. But you have to ask yourself the questions, and you have to go down that rabbit hole to figure out who all is affected by this new technology. And so when we have these conversations or we have these questions and we start to talk about it, and I was telling y'all, we evaluated it from a political perspective. We looked at it from a warring perspective. We talk about how Taiwan and Nvidia's fortunes are very much tied in with what's going on in Taiwan, which is one of the reasons why it's so much easier for them to be able to push through the money that they're giving over to Israel and things like that. And so it's not just from an investment perspective. When I say that we do the news, but the news ultimately determines how it is that it comes back down to the money. When we look at these presidential elections and we say, oh, okay, well, why are they letting all of these people in, and why are they tying this infrastructure deal or the bills that's passed over into national security, and why do they then tie in Taiwan? And we don't really talk about Taiwan, but we talk about Israel, we talk about Ukraine. But this entire package of $95 billion also includes Taiwan, because China is also battling for Taiwan in order to be able to get a hold of chip technology in order to increase their position in the world versus the United States of America and other countries. Well, it all comes back down to the money, right? The chip manufacturing process that I've been telling you guys for the last 3 or 4 years, when we've been riding the wave of ASML, right? ASML is basically the only company in the world that can basically manufacture the equipment that ultimately builds a lot of these chips that's then being manufactured over in Texas when they starting to bring in more jobs. When we talk about this stuff And we start to put it together so that when you then look at Bloomberg and you look at MarketWatch and you look at Yahoo Finance and you look at all of these publications, because you now become more interested and you're deep diving into everything and how people are profiting across the board, right? When we talked about iPhones, when iPhones was first blowing up and iPhones was really, really making waves, and it made Apple the $2 trillion, $3 trillion company that it is today, a lot of us didn't really talk about the technology that came from the cameras from Sony. And we didn't talk about the glass that came from Samsung. And we didn't talk about all of the suppliers that came along with it, because the only thing that matters for a lot of people is the popularity of the company and not necessarily how we making money. So when we break this thing down and we look at it from a political perspective, from a financial perspective, when we look at the wars that's happening everywhere, these wars is not just based off of, oh my God, we need to make sure that Russia don't stop us. No, it always comes back to the money. When your tax dollars are going overseas and we're trying to understand, hey man, why is this tied into national security? Where's Taiwan play a role in this? It always comes back to the money. And everybody got a vested interest in seeing a lot of this stuff be successful. So when we look at this, we do deep dives. About how we make money, why it's important for us to understand it on every spectrum, and then we break it down from a C-student's perspective. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. Let's continue to hear what they got to say.
I want to talk about the inferencing, Jensen. You know, some analysts have brought up the idea that as we move over towards inferencing from the training, that there may be some in-house companies, processors from companies, those made from Microsoft, Google, Amazon, may be more suited for the actual inferencing. I guess, how does that impact Nvidia then?
Well, inferencing used to be easy. You know, when people started talking about inference, generative AI didn't exist. And now generative AI is of course, is about prediction, but it's about prediction of the next token or prediction of the next pixel or prediction of the next frame. And all of that is complicated. And generative AI is also used for understanding in order to generate the content properly, you have to understand the context and what is called memory. And so now the memory size is incredibly large, and you have to have context memory. You have to be able to generate the next token really, really fast. It takes a whole lot of tokens to make an image. It takes a ton of tokens to make a video, and it takes a lot of tokens to be able to reason about a particular task so that it can make a plan. And so the generative AI era really made inference a million times more complicated. And as you know, the number of chips that were intended for inference kind of fell by the wayside, and now people are talking about building new chips. You know, the versatility of NVIDIA's architecture makes it possible for people to continue to innovate and create these amazing new AIs. And then now Blackwell's coming.
So in other words, you think you still have a competitive advantage even as the market sort of shifts to inferencing?
We have a great position in inference because inference is just a really complicated problem. You know, and the software stack is complicated. The type of models that people use is complicated. There's so many different types. It's just going to be a giant market opportunity for us. The vast majority of the world's inferencing today, as people are experiencing in their data centers and on the web, vast majority of the inferencing today is done on NVIDIA. And so I expect that to continue.
You said on the call a couple of times that you'll be supply constrained for both Hopper and then Blackwell chips well until next year because of the vast demand that's out there. What can you do about that? Are there any sort of levers you can pull to help increase supply?
Hopper demand grew throughout this quarter after we announced Blackwell. And so that kind of tells you how much demand there is out there. People want to deploy these data centers right now. They want to put our GPUs to work right now and start making money and start saving money. And so that demand is just so strong. You know, it's really—
Which basically tells me that this stock and the profitability of this company is not going to slow down. They're going to run it up, and they're going to continue to be successful.
It's important to take a step back and realize that what we build is not a GPU chip. We call it Blackwell and we call it GPU, but we're really building AI factories. These AI factories have CPUs and GPUs and really complicated memory. The systems are really complicated. It's connected by NVLink. There's an NVLink switch. There's InfiniBand switches, InfiniBand NICs, and then now we have Ethernet switches and Ethernet NICs. And all of this connected together with this incredibly complicated spine called NVLink. And then the amount of software that it takes to build all this and run all this is incredible. And so these AI factories are essentially what we build. We build it as a holistic unit, as a holistic architecture and platform, but then we disaggregate it so that our partners could take it and put it into data centers of any kind. And every single cloud has slightly different architectures and different stacks, and our stacks and our architecture can now deeply integrate into theirs, but everybody's a little different. So we build it as an AI factory. We then disaggregate it so that everybody can have AI factories. This is just an incredible thing, and we do this at very high volume. It's just very, very hard to do.
Nvidia had a blowout quarter. For everybody that didn't capitalize off of it, for everybody that didn't make money off of this, for everybody that's not riding this wave and is so easily distracted while wealth continues to generate, and then they're going to be running in the Victim Olympics, and everybody got access to this, and you're not capitalizing off of it, make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. And don't just tap into the Patreon for the upcoming meetup that we got happening in July. Tap in so you can get the knowledge, and then you leverage it in order to continue to make sure that you don't have to continue to beg Biden to forgive your student loans. You know what I'm saying? My daughter, man, come on, bro. Anyways, let me read a few of the